So, you think cruising is all about attacking the all-you-can-eat buffet and fighting for a lounge chair by the pool? Come on, that's the rookie way to cruise, and it's probably costing you time, money, and maybe a little bit of your sanity. There's a totally different way to do it, a way that takes your vacation from just good to absolutely flawless. It's all about hacking the experience, and stick around because I'll share with you a free resource and how to get it that will make your cruise so much better. Are you tired of feeling like the new kid on the ship, making those small, frustrating mistakes that everyone else seems to know how to avoid? I might be a seasoned cruiser now, but I once was a cruise newbie who also did all of the dumb things. You know, those little goofs, like paying full price for an excursion or discovering your cabin has exactly 2 outlets for 50 gadgets. They seriously add up, turning what could be one of the most relaxing days or trips of your life into a series of headaches and frustrations, and possibly ending up with a bill full of charges that you never saw coming. I'm gonna share with you the secrets, these unwritten rules and game-changing hacks that cruise lines probably hope you don't figure out. And by the end of this, you'll understand exactly why veteran cruisers never leave home without one weirdly simple item, why a random online group can be more useful than the cruise line's own app, and how you can sidestep the biggest rookie mistakes. So get ready to start cruising like a pro. Your perfect cruise begins long before you even smell the ocean air. It starts with how you book your cruise. But it's not just about the price that you pay up front. In fact, there's a simple 5-minute check you can do after booking that can put hundreds of dollars back in your pocket. So how does it work? The #1 rookie mistake I see is that new cruisers sometimes just book a cruise with the first price that they see. The secret though is to book early. We're talking 10 to 12 months in advance, especially during wave season, which is January to March. That's when the cruise lines roll out all their promos and they try to get you to lock in a great rate and get the best pick of cabins. But here's that pro move that I mentioned. After you book, don't just set it and forget it. Keep an eye on the price. If that price drops before your final payment is due, many cruise lines, depending on the fare that you booked, and travel agents, hopefully you book with a travel agent, it costs you nothing extra and they do this work for you, will honor the new lower price. If you booked on your own, all you have to do is create a mock booking, go online, look at your same cruise, set a reminder on your calendar to do it every 3 weeks or so, and check your cruise fare. That 5-minute check can literally save you hundreds of dollars. Now, usually the cruise lines won't just refund that price difference back to you, but rather they give it to you in the form of onboard credit, which for most people is as good as cash. Now here's another secret weapon when it comes to cruising, your unofficial Facebook group for your specific sailing. Now don't confuse this with the official cruise line page. Rather, search Facebook for your cruise ship name and sail date, and you'll likely find a Facebook group that was started by your fellow passengers. And let me tell you that this is a gold mine. You'll find real-time tips, honest excursion reviews, you can coordinate meetups, make new friends, you can even coordinate shared excursions and things like that. You also get all the information about what's happening on a ship that the cruise line often doesn't tell you. I just got off of a cruise myself. We had a passenger that was medevaced off the ship. I would not have known about it had I not seen it on the Facebook group. And of course, later it made national news, but it's a really great way to keep your finger on the pulse of all the stuff that's really happening on the ship that the cruise line probably won't tell you about. Now, here's one word of caution. This is still the internet, so take things with a grain of salt. Sometimes cruisers will post in these groups information that's not always accurate, so make sure you double check any important details yourself before taking it as gospel. Now let's talk about packing hacks, because packing for a cruise, it's not like packing for any old trip. You've got to pack for the ship. And there's one everyday item that you probably have at home that is absolutely banned and will be confiscated, but that you need to bring, just the right kind. And there's another cheap gadget you probably never thought about that is the single best thing that you can bring. First, the game-changing gadget, magnetic hooks. Your cabin walls and ceiling are metal, in most cases, but not all. But most of those cruise ship cabins have little storage, very little hanging storage especially. So using and buying heavy-duty magnetic hooks instantly gives you more storage. If you're taking a Caribbean cruise, for example, it's a great place to hang those wet swimsuits and cover-ups to dry. You can hang your hats, your backpacks, your lanyards with your cruise card, light jackets, things like that, keeping that precious and limited counter space clear. They are the single best, cheapest upgrade you can bring, and they're literally like $5 to $7. I'll drop a link below. Now let's talk about the must-have item on a cruise. I literally never leave home without it, and I've actually gotten so accustomed to it, I take it with me on all trips, not just on cruises. And that is power. What a lot of newbie cruisers don't realize is that most cruise ship stateroom cabins have very limited power sources. I've been on some older ships before that literally has 1 outlet with 2 plugs. That's it. So you might think, okay, I'm just gonna bring my power strip from home. Don't do that because they are banned from nearly every single cruise line. What's interesting, however, is that most cruise lines, with one notable exception I'll tell you about in a moment, they do allow power strips or extension cords, but they have to be non-surge. Why, you might ask? Isn't surge better? Well, cruise lines claim that their traditional extension cords are a fire hazard and too much of a drain or draw on the ship's electrical grid, and they are strictly banned. If you bring one, it will get confiscated. So bring one, just make sure it's non-surge. It has to be a non-surge cord. Now, the one exception is Royal Caribbean. Royal Caribbean bans all types of extension cords, even the non-surge one. So if you're taking a Royal Caribbean cruise, just leave that at home and bring a portable power pack. That's what I do when I sail on Royal Caribbean. And when it comes to packing, remember that when you take a cruise, one option you have is to check your luggage, meaning you drop off your bags with a porter at the curb. When you get to the cruise terminal, they'll whisk it away. You don't have to worry about it, and they'll deliver it to your stateroom. That's a great option. I tend to prefer to handle my luggage that way. Some cruisers, however, like to just carry their bags on the ship, but then you have to schlep it around until your stateroom is open in most cases. So when you're packing, another thing you want to consider is that if you do plan to check your bags, to make sure you have a smaller bag, a carry-on, that has things like your ID and your passport. Obviously, you're going to need those to check into your cruise. You want to make sure you have any medications or anything that's really important, because while it's rare, checked bags on a cruise can get lost, just like they do when you check bags for a flight. Also, make sure you have things like a portable charger, and if you want to hit the pool right away, once you're on the ship, make sure you bring a swimsuit and sunscreen. That way you can be poolside with a drink in your hand while everyone else is sitting around waiting for their luggage. Now let's go back to those cruise stateroom cabins, because like I said, they're cozy. That's a nice way of saying they're tiny. And without a plan, your room can turn into a total mess by day 2. So I want to share with you an unpacking method that takes 5 minutes and gives you more storage than you ever thought possible. The trick here is to think vertically. One way that cruisers like to manage their unpacking is with an over-the-door shoe organizer, but they don't use it for shoes. They hang it on the back of a door, and they suddenly now have all these little pockets for things like toiletries, sunscreen, chargers, and all those little things that tend to create clutter. Now, what I do, my secret to the 5-minute unpack, is I live and die by packing cubes. A lot of travelers think packing cubes are most beneficial for compression and fitting more stuff in a bag. But for me, I actually don't like using them for compression because it makes my stuff extra wrinkly, and I don't like that. I use packing cubes for organization. They don't just organize your suitcase, but they make unpacking pretty much instant. When your luggage comes to your room, you just take your cubes out, you pop them in the drawers of the cruise ship and your stateroom, and your unpacking is done. I also bring an extra storage cube, an empty one, and I use that to methodically store my dirty clothes, keeping them all together, making packing later when it's time to get off the ship easy peasy lemon squeezy. And if you would like a custom cruise packing list, because again, packing for a cruise is quite a bit different than a traditional trip, I have one for you. I'll drop the link below. It's my own custom list. I provide it to you for free, so make sure you go check it out. Now let's talk about embarkation day. This sets the vibe for your whole trip, but it's easy to get it wrong and start out with some chaos and stress. There are 2 key things that you can think about and consider to skip the biggest crowds and start relaxing immediately, and it's all about where you should go and what you should wear. First, show up at the port during the specific boarding time your cruise line gave you. If you arrive hours early, once in a while they might make an exception and let you on, but oftentimes you get stuck at the back of a really long line, or you're stuck sitting around and waiting for your assigned boarding time. Now here's the first part of the secret. If you are a pool person and you want to hit that pool right away, don't just pack a carry-on with your swimsuit. Actually wear your swimsuit under your clothes. The poolside bathrooms are a little bit chaotic on day 1, and it's also kind of awkward to change clothes in a bathroom anyway. So this lets you skip all of that chaos entirely. So when you're on board, you just strip it off and you got your bathing suit, jump in the pool, you are right there. Another thing to know about embarkation is that everybody wants to hit the buffet ASAP. You get your food, you wait in line, another line, another line. It's hard to find a place to sit. You feel like the kid at school that has no one to sit with because there's nowhere to literally sit, because everyone makes a mad dash for the buffet at the same time. Don't be one of them. Try to eat at the buffet either early or late if you can, or strategically plan your eating so you eat before you're on the ship, but just know that embarkation day dining can be very chaotic. But if you're a first-time cruiser and you encounter this, I've cruised with a lot of newbies and they get freaked out on embarkation day because it is chaotic, because the rooms are not open yet and everyone's milling about the ship, killing time. And a lot of times people are in the buffet, there's nowhere to sit, and they think, oh my God, I'm gonna hate cruising. This is chaos. Once staterooms open, everyone then disperses to their rooms. It's smooth sailing from there. And for me, I generally try to wait to eat until the staterooms are open. For most cruise lines, staterooms are usually open no later than 1 p.m. And usually that's when I try to hit the buffet so I can avoid those crowds. Another thing to make sure you do on embarkation day before you step foot on that ship is, if you haven't already, download the cruise line's app before you even leave home. You'll need that for daily schedules and reservations, and unless you bought the Wi-Fi package, and oftentimes even to access the Wi-Fi package, you have to have the app. So if you forget to do it, you're on the ship set sail, you're out to sea, you don't have connectivity, you're SOL, you can't even download the app at all. Now, here's a big thing I didn't know as a newbie cruiser that cost me a lot of money. And that is that cruise lines make a lot of their money on shore excursions and onboard add-ins. Okay, well, that's pretty common sense, but I didn't realize how hard they pushed these things. But with a little planning, you can have a way to enjoy these same experiences, but for way less money. The secret is to knowing when to book with the cruise line and when it's smarter to book excursions on your own. First, when it comes to onboard expenses, in many cases, if you book online in advance, you can save money. The cruise lines will offer discounts, especially on things like Wi-Fi. That's almost always available at a discounted price before the cruise. So you want to make sure that you buy those things before embarkation day. Now, when it comes to shore excursions, this is where you can really save big. You have two main options, and this is where you need to be strategic. You can book through the cruise line, which has its benefits. It's convenient. It guarantees you that if a port gets canceled, you'll be refunded. And the biggest perk is that if your excursion runs late, you miss that return to ship time, they will wait for you. Whereas if you venture off on your own, you miss the return to ship time, they will not wait for you. That ship will sail away with you standing at the pier. So cruise line excursions definitely have their advantages, but they come at a cost. I personally now almost never book cruise line excursions because they are significantly more expensive, and they almost always put you in groups with a bunch of strangers in bigger groups, and you have no control about how long you spend at certain destinations or sites. I don't like that. I get bored really easily. I want to go at my own pace, at my own time, and with my own private group, or if I'm a solo traveler, by myself. So I like to book excursions on my own. And if you do go out on your own, what you'll often find is that these vendors are the same exact tour operators that the cruise lines work through, but they add on a significantly higher charge. So going out on your own can save you a lot of money. When going out on my own, there are a couple of go-to places I almost always rely on because they are reliable. I've had issues where I've had dates change. They've offered me either refunds or changed my date, and they've always been really great to work with. And they are Viator. They sell pretty much any type of tour, even things like transfer services. I'll drop my link below. And for beach locations, Resort for a Day is my go-to spot. That gives you private beachfront access to amenities. Some of them are all-inclusive. I love Resort for a Day options. They have them all over the world, but especially in the Caribbean. I'll drop that link below. And note that I do get a small commission if you book anything with my link. It comes at no additional cost for you, but it does help support my content, so I appreciate you. But aside from that, I promise you, it will save you money, and it's often a much more enjoyable experience. And my final recommendation for newbie cruisers to learn the ins and outs of cruising and cruise like a pro is to be willing to learn. I already mentioned the value of those Facebook groups that are specific to your cruise, but Facebook groups in general and Reddit and things like the Cruise Critic forum boards, those are great options as well to learn about cruising. There are lots of groups that individuals have made. I'm a seasoned cruiser, but I haven't sailed with every cruise line. I have a Norwegian cruise coming up. I've never sailed Norwegian. So I joined a Norwegian enthusiast or Norwegian fan Facebook group, and I'm learning a lot about this cruise line that is distinctive from the other cruise lines. So doing a little bit of research in advance and learning the ins and outs can really help make for a better experience. So I want to know, what are your favorite cruise hacks? There are a ton of them. This just scratches the surface, so don't be shy. Let's talk ship in the comments.